Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. I hope you're having a wonderful day. You are listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery podcast. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett. Uh, won't be long. Josh will be here with me. He's running just a few minutes behind on today's episode, but I want to go ahead and get started. And we're going to talk about Routezilla. Now, a good friend of mine, Bill Spone, he introduced us and he said, "This sounds like something you'd be interested in." I was like, I think you're right, Bill. And Robert and I got to chat, and I purposely didn't do a ton of research on Routezilla because I wanted to make sure that these questions are as uneducated as possible. That's how I roll. And but I'm super excited to hear about Routezilla. And we had a short conversation beforehand, and it's really cool information that we got going on here. But just hold on, and we'll be here shortly. And I can't wait for Josh to get here because I'm used to cracking jokes at him, and I can't crack jokes at myself. So here we go.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, welcome to the show, Robert.
Hey, nice to be on.
Sorry, I'm late. I literally went from sales call on my computer upstairs, sprinted down here. I don't even have my hat on, so this is why I wear a hat, because there's nothing going on up here. But anyways, welcome, Robert.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I feel your pain. I'm trying to hide it a bit on top, but it's not working out for me.
It's all right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Robert, and then morph into Routezilla. What you got going on here?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Robert Ducharme. I'm the CEO of Routezilla. We're based out of Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, which is about 3 hours east of Vancouver, BC. If any of you out there know where that is. Beautiful part of the world. Beautiful sunny day here today as we're getting into spring finally. So most of the snow is gone and all that. We're pretty excited. That being said, we're in Canada, but 99% of the people that use Routezilla are in the US, and that's our market. So we spend a lot of time down there. We spent some time in the Silicon Valley when we were getting this thing going, and I'd love to jump right in and tell you how we ended up doing this crazy thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, what pain point? I'm assuming there was a pain point somewhere along the lines that, hey, I need to solve this, and technology is the way to do it.
100%. Yeah, it actually goes a little ways back, all the way back to 2009, when the economy went sideways in this area, as it did, I would imagine, in your area as well, or in many parts of the world. And at that time, I had a construction company with about 15 employees, landscape construction, and we were doing a lot of various different types of projects. And when the economy went sideways, we went looking for something more on the service side, the thing that people needed done no matter what the economy was going to do. And so what we landed on was actually an irrigation service business that we ended up acquiring. We bought this company. We bought it in the month of September in 2009, and in the month of October. So in the northern states or in Canada, for example, irrigation lines have to be winterized in the month of October, or else the pipes freeze in the winter. So basically, what happened was we bought this company in September, and now in October, we had 700 places to be in 1 month's time and 4 people to do it.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was a pain point that inspired Routezilla. We ended up having 3 people in the office that were making phone calls, emailing, texting, routing, trying to coordinate this whole thing. We had to make sure that people had their water off before we showed up at their house. And we were waiting. If this guy calls me back or this lady calls me back, I'll put them in on this date. I just need to confirm they got their water off. And gosh darn it, if they don't call me back, then this whole day is going to be out of whack. It's going to be inefficient and everything else. And
yeah,
so we hardly made any money. And so we went looking for a way to automate this whole scheduling process, to let people enter their address and be given a list of available times based on where we were planning on being each day. And when we went looking for a solution, we had the typical field service management system that everybody has in the back end, very similar to some of the fantastic systems that are out there today, like Jobber or Service Titan or House Call Pro, or Worky. There's a number of them. There's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
We had the equivalent to one of those in the back end, but we had no means to automate that scheduling process with our customers. And that was the birthplace of Routezilla.
So this works in connection with those other service management?
That's right. Yeah, we really enhance them. So a lot of our user base use those systems.
So how does that work? So let's say, and Tersh is a Service Titan user, so he's got Service Titan, so that's where his customer database is and stuff like that. How does this enhance and make that work more efficiently?
Yeah, so one of the key differentiators is really, what's the first question you ask? Are you asking for the customer address up front? Are you asking just for their zip code? Or are you asking for their entire address or their exact location? And there's a big differentiator there. And so with Routezilla, we're getting their exact location that they want service done. And the reason being is that when we started building this out, we realized that zip codes, for example, are based off of outdated population data from the 60s and 70s, and they were put together from a very arid point of view or perspective, not considering major bridges, freeways, bodies of water, all these obstacles that we want to avoid in our modern cities today. So we made it so that you could draw on a map the exact, geo-fenced areas that you want to provide service in. You could limit availability in certain areas. You could align that availability with any marketing ad campaigns you're running. You could literally circle a row of houses in a neighborhood and say, you know what, Josh is crushing it in that neighborhood. I'm going to make sure that anybody that comes on to book, it has an address in that neighborhood, gets Josh's calendar. He's the one that goes out and does it. And then we added additional layers on so that you're booked to go to you got bookings in certain geo-fenced areas on certain days, but you want to limit your driving distance between appointments to maybe 5 or 10 miles so that you're maximizing the capacity in your calendar. And that's a big differentiator, whereas a lot of these systems right now will just we'll say, hey, what do you want us to do? They'll jump right to the calendar and they won't consider that address in the automated sort of booking process or in the online booking process as much or as in depth as Routezilla would. And then we take that information once it's booked, and we basically drop it into the Service Titan or the Jobber, whatever system you're using. We drop it into that calendar via an API sync.
So would the customer's records get added in is it Routezilla?
It depends. If I'm talking to Canadians, they say Root. If I'm talking to Americans, you say Route. I don't know the proper way to say it.
Josh is close enough to Canada, so
I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm not that terribly far south. So that's probably why I'm asking. So customer calls in, CSR's taking the call. Where do they input the information, and then where does it go?
Yeah, so they would input it. So that's a really great question. So obviously, so the way the Routezilla works, let me just jump back a little bit.
You said route.
I did say, there you go, because I'm talking to Americans.
Yeah, you're talking to me. I'm in South Georgia.
So when a customer creates their account, which takes about a minute to get all set up and get going, they get a custom URL, which they can share like via email, or there's an embed form. They can embed the booking process into their website or whatever, however they want to use it, they can do that. And basically, so in the example that you're talking about, like over the phone, one of the sort of key learnings for us now, looking at the sort of omni-channel communication world that we're in, is that you have to meet your customer where they're at. So if they're on the phone, or if they're in a chat conversation, or if they're on your website, whatever it might be, you have to have a means to schedule them through that really quickly and efficiently, or else the customer experience is not optimized. And your potential for losing a lead, which we say Routezilla helps you never lose a lead due to poor scheduling. So in the phone instance, what the person on the phone will do is basically ask the person up front, what's the address that you need us to come take a look, or need service at. They pump that into Routezilla. Routezilla instantly will pop up the list of available services that you actually currently are offering at that location. Once the person that's taking the call just has to select the service, and then if there's any additional information, like all of this is customizable, so if there's any additional information you need to know while you've got that person on the phone, you can have all that set up, and it will prompt the person on the phone to ask those questions. And those questions can be, just numeric in nature or free response. So numeric meaning, depending on how they answer it, then you might calculate more time is going to be needed for this booking. So you're dumbing it down for the person on the phone at a call center, whatever it might be, be super simple to ask the right questions to calculate the right amount of time for this appointment. And then once they ask those questions, they enter them into Routezilla to all the list of available times for that location, which are all based on where you're planning on going on that day, on any given day, all the parameters you set up in the back end, who has the capabilities to do what, all of that, without having to look at everybody's calendar and see where everybody's going and try to figure out what day or time can we come out there, or maybe I'll have to call you back. I got to talk to Tersh. I got to talk to Josh first before I book this in. All of that, we just dumb it down so that the person on the phone looks like a rock star and can book the appointment within a minute, and it's done. And then everything gets sent into the service management calendar of whatever system you're using.
Now, does it take into consideration, and I don't know if it would even be possible for this to happen, does it take into consideration like sending the best tech for the job type scenario? Like you mentioned that earlier, like a neighborhood surrounding it, but like what happens if it's in the same neighborhood and you have like plumbing and HVAC, and like you have like all your technicians can do both, but you have one technician that does really good at this particular type of plumbing service call that comes in, and this one does really good at one particular air conditioning call that comes in. Does it know that information?
Yeah. So that's a good question too. So in the back end, when you set up your initial settings, you can enter unlimited staff members, and then you create what we call crews. You can have multiple staff members assigned to a crew, but in the crew settings, you could assign, so if you have a specific service that's a higher end service that only certain staff members are good at, you will assign that service to specific crews, and you will assign those staff members to those crews, so that only when somebody requests that level of service, only certain people on the team are listed as only their times are listed as available on the schedule for booking. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's more on the setting side, like setting up and knowing your team and doing that, and just make sure you keep up with that on that. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah. You know what? Once you set up those initial settings, you really don't need to go in and mess with that anymore. It's a one-time thing. It doesn't take long to do, and then you just let it go. You just let it go to work for you. You just basically, if you're a one-man band and you maybe can't afford to have somebody in the office helping you on evenings or weekends or during the day to make sure that any lead that comes in is getting scheduled, it's great. This thing just works for you. It's like an automated admin or dispatcher. If you're a larger team and you've got a call center and you've got communication automation set up, this just enhances all of that and just streamlines that whole process. But again, we say you don't have to we've got a two-way Google Calendar integration, for example. So if you're used to...
That's what I was just looking at there.
Yeah. If you're used to playing in that sandbox, then set up your Routezilla settings and then don't go back into Routezilla. Just use Google Calendar. Routezilla will read your Google Calendar. We'll see the days that you already booked for something else, and it won't book those days. Or if a new booking comes in Routezilla, it'll feed it right into your Google Calendar.
So if you're a small shop or either you're just getting started and you're trying to use Google Calendars as your scheduling, like I obviously you need to integrate it some sort of QuickBooks or something to that effect. But if you got that going on for you, then you're able to put Routezilla.
Yeah, kind of your dispatch software, if you will. So if people use to add on to his question. So let's say someone starts, because I used to work at a company before I came on and onboarded ServiceTitan, and they were using Google Calendar for 20 employees. I was not going to use that. It was like this color-coded nightmare. I looked at him like, hell no. I am not doing that. But so let's say someone using Google Calendar, let's say that small, big, everyone uses it differently. Does this also have like dispatch, like this can be your dispatch board too, so you can actually see all the calls for the day, or would you go to Google Calendar still to see that?
Oh yeah, there's an admin. There's a back end part of Routezilla for your admin team if they wish to use it. If they want to play in the Routezilla sandbox, they can come in on the back end. They can see a map view of where everybody's going at any given day. They can see right above that all the bookings on the calendar. You can move things around. So if you wanted to slide a booking from one person to another, you could see that and then instantly see the effect of that on the map, how you've changed that person's route on any given day. So yeah, all that is, if you don't have another system in place, then Routezilla might be all you need. And if you have another system, then you just layer this on. You don't have to get your team to the key is why we say it can integrate with what you're using, because one of the challenges, if you want to introduce something like this, and then you got to retrain your team, say, oh, we're going to do it this way now and not that way. These things are a hassle, and these things, they take downtime and everything else to get everybody ramped up on them. So we just make it super simple. Like you don't need that downtime. You don't need to train anybody or ramp them up. We just integrate and seamlessly attach ourselves to what you're using now if you don't have something already.
Now I see you have a text message notification. Is that an automatic thing, like to reminder? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so that's all customizable in the back end. So you could have a text or email notification as soon as a new appointment is booked, or you could have a reminder that goes out. You could set when you want that reminder to go out. You could do things like have a cancellation, like customizable cancellation email that goes out or text message that goes out. So in the event you've got some catastrophe happens, you got to cancel a bunch of bookings. Again,
so if you have to cancel, not if the client cancels on you.
Right. Yeah. If you have to cancel because things happen, and if you got to cancel, then we make it super simple so that the customer gets that notification. We're really sorry. However you want to say it, you customize that. We have to cancel today. Something's happened. Can we get you on another day? We include you can have the option to include a link in there so they don't have to re-enter all their information. They just click that link. They go right to the calendar and they choose a new date and time that's all based on where you're planning on going already. And it's just literally two clicks and boom, they've got their new time and it's done. And if you're sending this out to 10 people, for example, on a certain day, we've just eliminated that whole admin headache of having to try to get a hold of these people and go back and forth to coordinate it. I want to share one example of how this works at the smaller end for the one-man band. But when we started out, we actually didn't even think this was going to be a solution, even at the higher end, at the enterprise level. And in 2018, so we learned about this issue back in 2009, and then started building out from there. We went to the Silicon Valley and building our team out from there, and then came back to Kelowna here. And then 2018 was actually the day my wife and I were at the foster home adopting our daughter. They say kids, I think, bring good fortune.
Congrats.
But I get this email and it says Greg from @tesla.com is signed up for Routezilla. I said to my wife, I said, what? I said, are you kidding me? I said, I'm pretty sure if you've got an @tesla.com email address, you must work for Tesla. So the funny thing was, over the next week, there was just Tesla accounts opening up across the country. They opened up accounts in about 10 states. There was about 300 Tesla employees were onboarded to Routezilla without any training before we could even get them on the phone. And when we finally did get in touch with them, we realized that, yeah, they had on the back end like a field service management system that was very robust. This is a Fortune 50 company that prides itself on building technology. So
right.
We were a little blown away that we had thought of something that they hadn't added into that system already. And when I guess the reason why they came looking for Routezilla was that they were getting all these requests for service, and people were allowed to choose whatever time they wanted. So they get multiple people wanting similar times, and then they had their admin team was having to move things around and reschedule and look at the map and look at multiple calendars. And so we did a little case study with them over 50,000 appointments, and proved out that we were saving them about 16 to 20 minutes per appointment in admin time by automating that whole scheduling process. And we managed to increase the number of appointments their techs were actually doing each day. Here's a case in point. Here's a company, a big company with a very robust system in place already, was able to layer Routezilla on. But then now you've got even a small company, a one-man band, can have the look and feel of a Tesla.
There you go. That's your sales pitch right there.
Right.
Have the look and feel of Tesla. Just make sure you get that approved before you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get that. I'll have to talk to Elon about that one.
Yeah. Well, I got a cell phone number here.
Tersh is the popular one, so he's got everybody's cell phone. That's interesting because even large companies, I think of, there's some really big players, HVAC, plumbing, especially now with technology and being able to really expand. You can have businesses in multiple states now, all with one central call center and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think a lot of these companies are still doing things in a way that is I want to call it old school, but the traditional way of call, and then it goes to like a dispatch board. Dispatcher is like crazy person, right? They're moving stuff around, making calls, canceling calls, moving this, moving that, and they have to know all their texts. Or you have a team of dispatchers, and there's no system. It's human error, right? Someone's going to cross paths. They're not going to know the market, especially if they're in a centralized location. And now you're doing a star pattern on the map with your guys. So your guys can only get to like 3 calls a day, when if they're literally in the same neighborhood, even if they're taking their time, they can run 4 to 5 really good service calls. And then that truck stays in the same market all day. And so another 100, 200, if it's a busier 1,000 or tens of thousands of people see that truck. So now you have the branding play. So looks like we got a question from a live. Is this only for HVAC? I'm assuming that's not.
No, hey,
not unless Tesla is opening an HVAC company we don't know about, which
probably are.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do. They put us all out of business.
That's a great question, because we started it for our irrigation service company. Tesla, obviously, their whole thing is 80% of service is provided mobilely. So instead of you bringing your car to the dealership, they come to you at your home or office. So there's the auto service examples there. We've got carpet cleaners, we've got HVAC, we've got plumbers, we've got electricians, we got roofers booking estimates.
I would think any service business that dispatches people mobilely would benefit from something like this, or could benefit from something like this. Because once upon a time, for a very short period of time, I was a branch manager of a Safe Light Auto Glass, and we had technicians. We had people come in, but we'd also have mobile technicians, and they would do 8, 9, 10 appointments a day all over Milwaukee County, which is a very big service area. And I'm sure they were all over the place, and it was not optimized. But I didn't know about this at the time. I would have made my bosses look really smart.
It's funny. I was talking to one of our customers in Michigan, the Lansing area, something like that. And they happen to actually do irrigation service as well. And they said, "Hey, can we get a testimonial from you to put on our website and tell other irrigation professionals in your area that you're using Routezilla?" And they said, "No, we're not doing that. I mean, we don't want our competition to know what our secret is."
That's
awesome. Funny. That's cool.
That is really cool.
So what, it looks like, what's your free trial on your site? Just in case someone wants to poke around and start playing with it. I see that there's a free trial button, but I haven't clicked on it yet.
Yeah, so it's 15-day free trial, and then we have unlimited support throughout that. If you don't get 15 bookings, if you're running some sort of ad campaign or something like that, and you integrate Routezilla with it, and you don't get 15 bookings as a result, sort of automated and scheduled efficiently within that first 15 days of your trial, we'll extend your trial. It's not simple, it's not complicated. It should start working for you. When the trial is done, then we just roll you over into whatever plan works best for your business. You can have unlimited staff members in there, and it really comes down to whatever volume of bookings that you're going to have. And so we base the pricing kind of where we're delivering the value, which is automating that whole scheduling process. And so we save you an average of $8 to $10 per booking on the scheduling side of things. And we charge anywhere from $2 in the high end to less than $1, depending on the volume that you're booking each day.
Okay. What does the integration process look like? Because that word integration is fancy, right? People are like, oh, I want to integrate with stuff, but then they get to integrating and, oh man, this sucks. There's all these steps. I got to do API and there's all this stuff. What does integration look like for a company that joins and maybe they want to integrate it? Let's just say with Google Calendar for simplicity's sake.
So Google Calendar, you click a button and there's a quick sort of OAuth process that pops up on your screen, and you just choose the Google account that you want to connect. And you click the next step. Yes, I authorize Routezilla to connect with my Google account, and it's done. It's connected. It's literally, you don't have to be tech savvy to do that. The other, for the non sort of tech savvy user, there's the URL. When you create your account, you've got this URL that could be Josh or Tertius HVAC.routezilla.com. You could just take that and put that into a button, link it to a button at the very least to start with. And then if you want to get more fancy, we have an embed code. If you know how to do any kind of website stuff, you just cut and paste that code and drop it into your website, and Routezilla pops up on your website, and nobody even knows you're using Routezilla. It's just embedded right into your site. If you want to get even more tech savvy, then you would do something like a Zapier integration where you could have Routezilla triggering anytime something happens in Routezilla, you could have it trigger an event and something else. Yeah.
Okay. That's very cool. No, that's smart. Like you're kind of like a niche within a niche almost, like as far as the CRM space. So you're not competing with these like Service Titan's a behemoth, Housecall Pros even. I mean, some of these companies are very large. So trying to compete in that same space is probably can be, unless you really niche down into a certain home service category, it can be very difficult. But having a niche within that niche, I think, is what you guys have found. I think that's could be very beneficial for someone, especially if they don't have a dispatcher. They just have someone answers the phone and they don't really have dispatch skills. Let the program do it for them, so they go focus on making money. Stop focusing on are the calls in the same area. So it's very interesting.
And it does away with the issue of, Josh, you've mentioned this before about not answering the phone calls. Like whenever you're smaller and you're trying to grow, that's one of the challenges. Like you're in an attic or you're like elbows deep, I got a toilet pulled out and your phone starts ringing and you're like fumbling around. If I'm digging in the toilet, I'm not touching my phone because that phone's gonna be on my face eventually. So it's just grossness going on. And so this just does away with it. You could almost have you could send an autoresponder to your phone. Yeah, I see Josh shaking his head.
I already got like Zapier and being able to, when a call comes in, automatically a text message goes out with the link, and there's some cool things you can do with that. I'm sure maybe you probably have customers already doing that are smaller, or maybe they just don't want the admin staff right now. They can't afford it. This can not replace, but if they have admin staff, they can focus on like revenue generating things, which I keep telling people. That was the call I was just on. I was like, we help with some of the Zapier stuff, so that way you don't have your admin staff doing data entry stuff. Remove that. Try to remove as much of that from your business as possible. Have them on the phone and following up with estimates. Do revenue generating things and not focus on some of these like moving calls around on a board. Have that person that used to do that make follow-up phone calls. Turn them into an inside salesperson. That way you can really, now that position is really paying for itself. Now you can hire more techs and things can start to take off from there. But it's a mindset shift from the traditional ways of doing things.
And you nailed it there, Josh. That's the thing. We're not trying to take away anybody's job or replace the human with a robot or something like that. This is about getting your team focused on more revenue generating tasks and getting them off of some of these things that are just unnecessary. All this sort of back and forth nightmare type work.
Yeah. No, I love it. This was great. I don't think I have anything else right now. Tersh, do you have anything else?
No, you answered all my questions. The best place for people to reach out to you and learn more.
.com is the best place we have, or they could email us info@routezilla.com if they want to learn more, get more info that way before they're ready to take a look. But that's Routezilla.com. You can sign up for a free trial or email info@routezilla.com. We also have I'll just add to this too. We have a training that we offer, or a workshop we call Compound Mobility, where we're willing to teach companies how to do some of these things that we've automated in Routezilla, teach them how to do some of these things manually. So how to break down, there's kind of three pieces to compound mobility. So one, figuring out what is the return on my mileage. So how much do I actually make for every mile I drive each day? And knowing that number is actually really powerful for a business as an anchor point to say, hey, you know what? Like I know at the end of the day, I look at my speedometer and like I drove 10 miles today, or I drove 100 miles. I can do a quick calculation. I know how much I made today as a result of that, or should have made. You could do. We have another piece, another pillar to compound mobility is system sync. So what are all the necessary systems that need to be integrated and talk to each other to automate as much of the communication process as possible, to meet your customers where they're at, whatever channel they're comfortable communicating on. And then the last piece, the third piece, is really how to maximize your capacity. So how to look at your calendar at the end of the day and say, okay, how much of this time was actually spent driving, and how much of this time was actually spent doing the things that make me money? And so what are some of the things I can implement to improve that? Oh yeah.
It doesn't even get into the price of gas right now.
And that's 100%. Yeah.
So
windshield time is not good unless you're a technician.
It's only gone up. Wages have gone up. Gas prices have gone up. So there's definitely something to be said about maximizing that time, because most likely contractors would be very upset if they actually knew that number was that they were wasting. It would keep them awake at night. That's how big it is.
It's pretty shocking, and that's just part of the training. Really, is to help. Step one, help some of these service businesses understand that number, how to calculate it, and then start to anchor themselves around it and look for ways to improve it.
No, it's
absolutely
cool.
Robert, man, we really appreciate this. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this with everybody, and I'm excited to hear back from as people start to use it and everything. So cool. Josh, you got any?
No, that was it.
Awesome, man. We appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Josh, or Robert. If you reach out to us, we're just going to get you connected with them. But anyways, I hope you have a wonderful and safe day until we talk again next time. We'll see you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.